I'm not sure how often you take pause to recognize and to see how blessed you are for the staff you have. I've always appreciated walking in and hearing beautiful music and having a kind face to help me out, and Tina is wonderful too. So what is the right thing to do? Difficult conversations are interwoven with more than a simple decision of right or wrong. How to stop mass murder, such as the school shootings. Now, I'm nearly certain that as soon as I said those words, your thoughts about where to focus the cause came to your mind. No one wants mass murder. Everyone wants to find the cause so we can find some control in this unbelievable, horrible situation. We want to figure it out. How do we make sure that everyone has adequate food to eat? No one wants someone to be hungry. Yes, you support your local food pantries, and that's essential in helping the real lives of people around you. I've never had an empty pantry, but I've been surprised at times to know who has. Real people around you. This week, my son had an event that he could attend for free if he brought an item for the food pantry. So I took my grocery sack or bag. I'm not ever sure because I grew up in Iowa and we have sacks or bags, and other people around here sometimes look at me when I ask for one or the other. So I took my bag and I went to the pantry and I paused, a full pantry, and I went for a can of chicken noodle soup, and then I thought, oh, but I think that's our only can, and our kids sometimes like that for supper, and that's an easy one. So then I went for another can of soup, and then I thought, you know, I think Pat picked this up, and I wonder if he bought it because he really wanted to try this kind of soup. And so then I went for another can, and then I thought I should probably check the date on it to make sure it's not expired, because sometimes that happens in our cupboard. And it said May, and I thought, that might be a little too close to donate to the food pantry. So I grabbed something else. I honestly don't know what. And then I went for some pasta, and my first thought was, I'll send the spaghetti that's the smaller box. And then I thought, oh my goodness, I can at least be a little generous and send the larger box of pasta. Did you hear how long that conversation was? How much thought I put into giving an item or two to the food pantry? After doing that, I could clearly see that I am part of the reason that others go without. I struggle to give away what God has first given me, and I know that I can get more of whatever I want or whatever I have, especially now there's 24/7 all kinds of stores that you can pick up food. But I have these sneaking thoughts that come up, maybe I won't have enough. I realized I'm part of the problem as to why other people are hungry. So here's another question. How do we live as church? I have been part of the conversations, especially when I was serving a church full-time, that sounded a little bit like this. You know, people have choices, and if it's important, they will make it a priority. You know, this other person, they changed all of their activities around so they could be here for church. You know, church just must not be important to them. And we'll be here when they need us, but where are they? I've also been part of the conversations where a very poised professional woman quietly shared with me that she had been going through a very difficult time. And this was in another place and another time. And she said, I approached people who I knew were active in their church, people who I really felt had a deep faith, and I tried to talk to them, but nobody really wanted to have a conversation with me. I've always also experienced the painful moments when I have felt like the outsider. When I've been to a church activity or even a congregation, and I've looked at the people who belong to the church and stand there with envy at their close relationships, wondering what I could do to be part of that group, wondering what I had done not to be so welcome. I've even been part of conversations where people have said to me, I am going to walk with you through this. It is my role. It is what I plan to do. And I care deeply about you. And I've made promises to help you through this. And never hear from them again. If the answer was simply a right or wrong, it would be easy. And if I didn't work so hard at trying to figure out what others were doing wrong in the church, maybe I could be part of the answer. Jesus was being passed around. No one really wanted to figure out who he was in relationship to their understanding of God and their church community. Those who were the church leaders, they only saw the ways Jesus acted against their rules and traditions. What he said or did that was offensive or uncomfortable or just flat out rude. The world leaders didn't want to get into a fight with the church leaders. You know, you don't want to get those who are the majority upset at you. And after Jesus pointed out that power over him only comes from above, Pilate even became very afraid. No one wants to upset God either. Everyone else is trying to get someone else to handle Jesus. Everyone else is trying to put the responsibility of what the problem is on someone else. Nobody wants to deal with it. It's no fun to be uncomfortable. It's no fun to figure out that maybe things you've thought or said are wrong. I'm not going to offer a cheerful ending today. Almost every Sunday, there is something positive to say at the end of worship. But you have a blessing today in the fact that you have read and spent time in a portion of Scripture that many people don't even hear. You see, this story of Jesus' last walk to the cross has oftentimes been shared only on Good Friday, which honestly is one of my favorite worship services, even since I was little. But there are so many things going on now that Good Friday is oftentimes skipped. You go from the parade into the celebration, and that piece in the middle is lost. Some churches squish the whole week together because they really want people to know what happens between the parade and the celebration. You get to sit with these passages, hearing how these people shuffled Jesus around. Today's scripture has us sit in the discomfort of the brokenness of our church, the brokenness of our faith, the brokenness of community and our rulers, the brokenness that Jesus experienced that sent Jesus to the cross, the brokenness that's still here. I'm part of the brokenness, and I experience the brokenness. I perpetuate the brokenness. I need Jesus. Who else sees themselves in the brokenness? Who else here needs Jesus?